Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, let's talk about Web 3. So let's dive deep into it. So what exactly is the history? So get some context. Well, web started very early on, and there is no absolute point where web was quote unquote launched. So it's had a very rocky start. If you can go back, you can go back as to 1969, nice, and 1973, and Ethernet, the what we call Ethernet now, is started in 1976, and around 1982, the word internet itself started to come. So people have created some zones to simplify. So zone number one, Web 1, as we know it, started in 1994 to 2004. Now be mindful, these are not absolute data lines. These are sloppy lines by design. So do not fire missiles. No, actually is this. It's like, it's not meant to be precise. It's meant to be representing an era. So it's like same way you say a child era, a young era, old era, it's something like that. So what was it, the early web? Well, it was digital library. So back in the days, in the ancient time, people used to go to these places known as library. So what did library used to have? Well, it used to have a lot of books which you can read. It also used to have a lot of local businesses information there, a lot of national options there. People used to buy books, to order products using phones. Yes, I have that book in my home. I think I've sold it now, but you get the point. Like that was the era where books had everything. Book was the basically information index, and go to a library and you had access to a lot of it. Not just the book that you have, but whole of the book. And whole community can build an amazing library, and you can do awesome stuff there. So think that concept, and you just Control C, Control V into digital domain. So that was the whole point, digital library. So all we used to do is check out data. Basically, hey, I want to understand about this company. You go there, you study that data, you just check that data out. And then who used to control it? Controlation was always in the admin part, basically whoever was maintaining it. If you are a website maintainer, you'll be like, bro, I decide what it gets posted on that. So if they decide, you know what, this data I do not want to be public, you will not put it there. Some data is a bit crash, bit rough. You may not want to censor it. You were like, hey, for some reason, let's just be there. So it was very one-sided kind of system. You just go there to collect things. You had no control, no input also. So this is Web 1, that era, the starting era. Then we had second era, which is Web 2.0, 2004 to 2020, or so far right now. Now what this era had is a advent of user-focused services. For example, you started to make data yourself. For example, you can go into MySpace and show your amazing girlfriend and show other people that you are poor. You can go into Instagram, show your amazing car and tell other people you are poor. You can go into Facebook and show your vacation and tell other people that they are poor. So we started to create a lot of data. This is the first time where you are adding to it. Meaning if you are making a YouTube video, back in those days, YouTube was mostly about how-tos. That was the era of that time. Yes, I am that old. And yes, I made a how-to video 10 years ago. So that was that era, where that Web 2.0 era, where we used to make data and add to it. Now here's the deal. While we are adding data, creating stuff for other people to use, we had zero control over it. Meaning, in terms of content, we got to 2.0. In terms of admin rights, we are still at 1.0. Meaning, let's say there is a whole concerted effort from Chinese government to censor any anti-Chinese content on YouTube. So what they will do, they know for a fact that if they flat out block it, it will create more than enough fuss, and that will focus people on it. So what they will go is like, they will go to YouTube and it's like, hey, you sold your own country, so shut up, take money and throttle them. Do not poof them, throttle them. So even though they may be uploading, let's say, once a day, every day for 360 days, slowly people notification will start to fade away. Slowly the content will stop flowing. Slowly they will just poof it out of existence without anybody noticing it, because it did not happen in one sudden act. Nobody noticed it. So we did not have the control, even though we wanted to receive it. People who are creating it, they wanted to create it. So all that just poofed, gone. Same with government. Government could be like, hey, like let's say I'm like, hey, do not be stupid. Do not put hydrogen, force hydrogen on public. Hydrogen is the worst fuel that we humans can use. There's a reason why we use hydrocarbon. Hydrogen is useless without carbon bonding to it. But like government could be like, hey, this guy is making too much noise. Throttle him. Poof, I'm gone. Without violence, without any, poof, gone. So in terms of control, zero, nothing, just nothing, neither on Instagram nor on any platform that came after that. So That was the issue. So Web3, the work on Web3 started as early as 2015, is supposed to be going on right now. And the idea is that this is the first time you're gonna decentralize, meaning we had centralized AOL, Facebook, Instagram. These are centralized things, something run by someone who's doing everything in centralized location, physical and basically structure wise also. So that will be decentralized, meaning it will just like go in the ether. And then basically we'll get control. So control is the aspect. So Web 1 consumption, Web 2 creation, Web 3 ownership. We get back our control. That's the idea, at least. That's the history. So what's the hope around it? Well, the hope is that we have lost control of our own data. Meaning, think about this way. How the heck internet is free? Meaning, why the heck YouTube is free? That taking an insane amount of data to store it, and same goes with Gmail, same goes with every other system. How the heck they are making enough money to run a data center? Well, they are doing it simply because internet is free, because you are the product. They are selling you. So that gets an issue. We are being sold and we do not even know how and why and all that. We have no idea. Meaning they can do targeted, they will try to do behavior changes. And yes, I'm not exaggerating. Behavior changes have been tried by political parties from all sides, all countries, whoever realized it. And the moment a company was like claiming that we can nudge things, people just poured money like there is no tomorrow. It was basically exploiting our own data sets and our own gently guiding it. And we had no control over it. We were the product, so we had no say in it. That created an issue. And we have no control right now. Everybody is feeling it right now. For example, what happens to your data? No idea. What happens to your money? No idea. What happens to content feed? That's why I specified that China is just like, hey. And I'm like, YouTube is like, bro, you do not even work there. Why the heck you are literally selling? Like, if all the content that was blocked on YouTube, it was there, we could have recovered from China's bitch slap earlier. We did not. So content feed, and it creates echo chambers, which they want. Be mindful, they want echo chambers. It actually works for their economic of marketing and all that, but it destroys the nation. So that's the whole issue. We fundamentally have no control about money, data, content feeds, and echo chambers. We have no control. We just lost control, even though we are making it. And many times you are thinking that you are making something to counteract something. Let's say you notice an echo chamber and you are like making a detailed video of how to break it. That will go into opposite echo chamber and it will only circulate there. It will not have any bridging effect which you want for a nation to survive properly. So you see the point, like we kind of losing control. Now who are the players here? Well, the aim is that we gonna get the admin right. Right now the admin right is in Amazon Web Services, Amazon Azure, IBM Cloud, Google Cloud Platform. And if all of these puppies, they decided to block you, God help you. There is almost no other option. There are only few options that exist, and only few of them inside that can actually handle any scale. What does scale mean? Scale means millions of users per hour. So for example, can you go to another some very small person like who actually has a server right next to him? Would that be able to serve internet? Absolutely. How many people? Maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000 maximum. So that's the whole point. And what about payment gateways? There are only few payment gateway on the planet. Like think about this way, like how big of that payment gateway is that? Is that when Russia went boom boom with Ukraine, basically European Union decided to block Russia from SWIFT account, basically international monetary system that was created to make sure money and goods flows efficiently. No problem. Okay. Now you would think Russia is so big, they'll take care of it. Here's the deal. This was recently, is that they pulled out from grain deal, and they are like, to restore the grain deal, we need our banks to be connected to that. This is Russia, supposed to be the world's second most powerful, but that's how powerful payment gateways are, meaning they can block you without you even knowing. Like if they decide no sir, that means no sir. So that's a very serious issue. So what's the solution? Solution is decentralized. So decentralize the two core fundamentals, data and money. Once you can decentralize these puppies, everything else will sort itself out. So that's the idea. The idea at the end is trading also will remove the centralized payment gateways. So that's the hope. So how are you going to implement this magic? Well, from your end, hopefully nothing will change. That's the whole point. You should not change anything on your end. However, the SDK is being worked on, created. There are already few SDK software development kits that you can use. The new architectures, again, many are already being taught in schools, studied, developed, all that. And new principle, that is the biggest change. Like, you have to think conceptually differently. Right now, all our designs are inherently centralized, and all we do is actually clone that central portion to multiple places. Like content delivery network is just same thing, just locally nearby. So inherently, we are not designed to think in blockchain. So principles have to change drastically. So what will they call this sort of app? They will call it DApps, or decentralized applications. So where this code will run? Well, code will go into smart contracts. That smart contract will go into net. What does this net mean? Blockchain in this scenario. Again, it could be something similar. It does not have to be exactly a blockchain implementation. It's not very efficient. There are other architecture, but the idea is it goes into the ether. It does not go into a data server. Of course, data server could host it, but they will not have a direct control over it. And user authentication, that's the biggest issue. It's like, how the heck you authenticate it? That's why we have that's the primary job of a data center, authenticate. So idea is that user is going to create a public key and private key. Private key will have everything that you need to have, and public key will just be a token. Now that token, even if it's leaked, nothing. It has nothing to leak. Meaning the public key is a floating address that people send stuff to, and nothing can pass it. Like, even if you lose your public key, not too much should happen. Even if somebody finds out your public key, they should not be able to compromise you on principle. That's the whole point. So private key is yours and public key is for everyone else. So basically, hey, my basically public key is XYZ, come send file to XYZ, file goes to XYZ. If FBI is like, I'm gonna snoop on this guy, I'm gonna destroy them, and they're like, oh, bye. That public key to private key jump will not be possible in principle. Now be mindful, whenever you hear this sort of public, like encryption lock, they only work in the computation hardware of that time. Meaning, if we built a encryption system right now, it will be only good for, let's say, maybe 10 years from now. It won't be like 50, 60 years from now, because again, computation, if it keeps getting better, specifically in quantum domain, yeah, it's going to be cracked quite easily. So this is a good jump, good barrier, but this key barrier has to be improved iteratively, basically Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. Like how we have securities that keep getting updated, same thing has to be done here. So that's the idea. So you have a public key and private key. Now how exactly this works, I have linked a video down below, but pretty complex. So you will make your token, and token will allow you to do all the data transaction. Basically a wallet, exactly like how cryptocurrency wallet work. And are there any structure providers for it? Yes, you have Hard Hat, you have Truffle, and there are other places also that allows you to run smart contracts. So this is the implementation side. You can actually develop your own app today if you know how to do it. Like structure wise, everything is sorted. That's why I specified it started very early on, 2015. So what exactly is the problem? Well, the problem is that it's the exact same hype that was sold with cryptocurrency. And I do not blame you if you forgot about cryptocurrency, or you're like, I wonder what happened to cryptocurrency. Yeah, nothing happened. Basically, cryptocurrency failed, practically speaking, because the aim of Bitcoin, let that be very clear, aim of Bitcoin was that will become the global currency and people will use that, removing banks. Yeah, that did not happen. Let's just be clear about that. That did not happen. And it just became a scam on top of a scam with some extra scam. There, at peak of Bitcoin frenzy, there were 10,000 cryptocurrencies. I was shocked that it actually went that high. I actually thought there would be like, few here and there, 100 maybe. No, 10,000. And the majority of them were scams. So obviously, and that's the same thing. Like if you have too many of something, that fundamentally means all of them are garbage. Like we do not even have that many currency in real world. Real world only has like around 200 countries. So we do not even have more currencies than cryptocurrency was like, whew, every Tom, Dick and Harry is crypto, even more crypto. Majority of them are Ponzi schemes and billion-dollar Ponzi schemes. So that's the whole point. And what has become after that? Well, at this point, when we are talking about this, it's just an asset. Meaning, think of it this way. I go to you and build a structure for you. Let's say I build an office for you. That's $100 million. Now, instead of paying me in $100 million in whatever currency, let's say $100 million, 100 million converted to rupees, 100 or converted to rubles, whatever have you. Instead of that, you decide, hey, I'm going to give you this painting. This painting is $400 million. I bought it at $400 million. So you are getting profit. Here's the deal. That's not exactly true. Why? Well, who else is going to buy it for that much from me? That's the thing. You have to understand. For example, are there comics books that have been sold for millions of dollars? Absolutely. There are some ludicrously rich collectors who have that kind of money to dispose of, and they did. They actually paid millions of dollars for a comic book. Okay, awesome. But here's the assume the worst case scenario. Let's say they go broke and they have to sell it. Do you really think there are other people on the, again, there could be, there could be many people who are just buying it for the like mine's bigger than yours shit, which again, half of luxury goods work on that way. It's like the only reason luxury goods even exist is like mine's bigger than yours syndrome. So there could be many people, but could you trust on that? Could you count on it that, yeah, you sold me this painting that you said that's you paid? Of course, like I'm saying, checking the bill and all that. Like you could pay for an NFT where it's like, oh, I paid like $65 million for that. Would other person will buy it from you for that price or more than that price? That's the issue. That's the difference between asset and value. So you can have an asset. Hey, I built this office building, is super amazing, super awesome. But let's say it's in a dead city, which is not well connected, does not have good railway connection, does not have good airport, does not have good anything. And you are like, hey, I made this for 100 million. I'm going to charge, let's say 110 million, 10 million profit. That's the asset. And you want to put it in the market. Nobody buys it. Like majority of New York's office sector, that's what's happening to them. It's like people are just fleeing, and then people are like, I spent millions of dollars building it. It's like, that does not make it valued. It's like, bro, value comes from things around it. That's not happening. So it has just become an asset. Cryptocurrency is just an asset at this point. It's not money. You cannot just close your eyes, give it to someone. That's why you do not see it everywhere. Because again, prices have to change every day. Because it's an asset, not currency. And who controls it? Well, venture capitals control it. Like where the heck majority of this money went and came and went? Well, venture capitals. Now, problem with that is like they fundamentally are not people. They are the elite of the elite. Like there are barely 1 million of them. Barely. However, they control 100% of everything, but they are barely enough of them. And they are worse than banks. This is one aspect that people have to understand. Is like, oh, crypto is safer. It's like, given how much money cryptos have destroyed recently, it's like it's shocking that people think, oh, 2008 crisis, yeah, more money in crypto has been poofed. It's just because of your stupidity. Like people are like, I just lost all my savings. Yeah, who cares about it? Like exactly the same thing that happened in 2008. But in 2008, government was acting on it. There was a big news on that. When you lose your money into crypto scam, people will just like, are you that stupid that you looked into a Ponzi scheme and you're like, me do Ponzi scheme, me get rich. So venture capitals are like 1 percentile, fundamentally less oversight, less transparency, because if anytime government messes up, anytime a bank messes up, new rules and regulations are created to hopefully curb it. Now you may be like, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. Get over yourself. Nothing is perfect. It's just better than the last system. And over time, we have made it better. We do no longer have a scenario where we have multiple bankers. We no longer have a scenario where we have this sort of financial crisis. Even China realized early on, it was like, yeah, we are creating way too big of a Ponzi scheme, which will fall over. The moment it will poof the whole country out of existence. So let's apply brakes. China applied brakes on that. And again, their Ponzi schemes are failing. To make sure that it does not got a cascade failure, they are like, hey, 10,000 yuan limit every day. Again, that's what they are doing it to slow down bank run. Because again, yeah, they have already collapsed. It's just like they're throttling. Now imagine that sort of worst case scenario, and these people, they will be like, lol, who cares? I already made my money. So there won't be any laws, there won't be any transparency, there won't be any oversight, and people think they will be better than banks. I'm like, no, sir, no, not even close. And we do not have enough spare computation and capacity to do things that we are thinking about. And this is the fundamental aspect. Everything so far speculation. This is fact. This is fact. Meaning, can you take whole of YouTube's archive database and dump it into web? No. What does that mean? That simply means if you dump all the petabytes on petabytes of data, fundamentally there is not enough PCs, mobile, laptops to dump all that data. And I'm just talking about YouTube. I'm not even touching Instagram. I'm not even touching TikTok. You simply cannot do that. That's the primary reason we build basically database. If you think like how much terabytes are generated in terms of physical hardware, like right, file has to be stored somewhere. So hardware like NAND chips. Okay, you will like, hey, you go to a factory. It's like let's say Samsung factory. How many NAND chips you are making? They're gonna say we are making around, let's say 10 petabytes of capacity per year. Awesome. Where is that going? Majority of them are going to database. They are not going to your mobile phone, your laptop. So physically you do not have enough space. And that's the primary reason we build a data center. If we could have just store it on your mobile phone, we'll store it there. It just will not fit. And here's the deal, mobile phones have not increased that much. Like, think of it this way, like for past 10 years, we still had 32 GB. Back in that day, you could have bought 128 GB or bought a 32 GB variant and put a like 64 GB card or even 128 GB card. This is 10 years ago. Now we are still in the same. We do not have reached through where it's like, oh, we have few terabytes in mobile phone. Our data production, that has went up, not the capacity. So fundamentally, we do not have enough capacity to store YouTube, Instagram, all of the web into just like cloud and all that. Yeah, that's physically. And compute, not even close. One of the few supercomputers alone would be like entirety of the World Wide Web. Everything that is connected to internet, one supercomputer will be like, bro, all of you put together barely comes to, let's say, zettaflops, one zettaflop. I'm like, bro, I started 7 zettaflop. So there is not even a parity here. So that's why many people say now, it's like fundamentally impossible. That's what they're talking about. There is not enough spare compute, not enough spare capacity to do this whole web into like the ether. That does not work. This is another thing why in Terminator that Skynet just dissolved into everything. Yeah, no, that's not happening. If you try to dissolve the chat GPT that is running on Amazon Azure into other things, yeah, lol. Like, can you run the extract of it? Yes. Can you run the whole thing that is self-trained? Yeah, good luck with that. And again, if it could have been done, they would not waste money on building that thing. They will not waste money on, NVIDIA A100s. So this is the physical limit, which I'm genuinely shocked that people don't talk about. It's like they were talking about, like, you have only 5 megabytes per cookie per browser session. That's not a lot of terabytes. So, and again, you must have experienced this. Like, what happens to torrents when nobody sees it? There is trillions of torrent. I'm not exaggerating. There is literally that much torrents. There is 1 billion torrent user, but majority of torrent still would be dead. Like, you can just go and find some old movie and try to download their torrent. Most of the time, it would be just poof, even though it's in the ether. That's the whole point. And open source does not always make it good. This is another aspect. Open source idea, good. Implementation depends on project to project. Some projects, awesome. Some projects, why? So this is a critical aspect. And paid people have to be working on it. Otherwise, it's hululu. So if you do not have paid people working on it, it will be like the hassle of Linux desktop. It failed. Now, like, no, it has actually, no, it has failed fundamentally, mathematically. If I take a sleeper and just throw it on the planet, and if it hits on any desktop and laptop, what do you think are the odds that it would be anything other than Windows and Mac? Close to zero. Like server people, again, what does server people have? Paid jobs. They are getting paid to work on Fedora. They are getting paid to work on Linux kernel. That's why I specified, if you have people paid to work on it, only then it's useful. That's the same reason why Mac works. That's the same reason why Windows work. While all the memes are like, oh, Windows never works. I literally am running a YouTube channel on this. I literally used to be a 3D game artist, and I worked on games that are like, literally, when I left the company, it was still not launched. So literally all of them Windows. All the Hollywood stuff, yeah, Windows. Like, although studio side, Mac. On the our side is like, yeah, we are still working on Windows. And again, we needed that kind of horsepower, so Windows was there. So that's the whole point. Unless you have paid people working on it, the software will be lol. And people need money, not speculative asset. I cannot give you NFT, because if I give you NFT, that loses its value, because, oh, it's sold something. Now, I did that 10, 20 times. The value literally could have started $6 million. It could drop to $50. Yes, it has happened. Yes, somebody was stupid enough to actually dump millions of dollars into NFT. And yes, they wanted to sell it again. I was like, dude, if you have big, show that mine's bigger than yours, buy it and forget about it. That's like, mine's bigger than yours. Like, mine's really big. But that's like having that small energy where it's like, oh, I bought it, but I actually want the money back. It's like, that's small energy, man. You want big energy. So that's why you do not hear about NFTs anymore. Like, we're gonna make NFTs, Pawn Stars making NFTs. And I'm like, I do not want to live in this planet anymore. So that's the core aspect. People need money, not speculative assets to pay their bills. You do not want that, because it will change. Oh, this dosa, like in the morning would be like, 1 Bitcoin. By night, it will be like 5 Bitcoin. And again, another morning, because again, priceless have it gone on, it will be changing. You don't want that. Like, money also loses. It's a constant gradual, like zoom out. Okay, just take any money graph, zoom out. It will be one line, constant. So, and content moderation is like, if you fundamentally create a system where nobody can be blocking you, You also created a system where anybody can expose things that should not be exposed. Who will be responsible for removing that? You have to have a way, because I can tell you what are available on Tor. Most of them are not nice things. Let that be very clear. So who is going to be responsible for that? Short answer, no one. So that's the issue. Like, moderation alone will end many systems. It's like anybody who hates your system, they will just post things that government will force you to remove it, and government can when government will see, hey, you have not removed it, they will remove you from existence. So yeah, majority of the system will be vulnerable to that. Then we come to another aspect. Is like, who's in charge actually? You need someone. It's like, sounds very bad. It's like, oh, Elon Musk controls this, or Steve Jobs controls this, or like, but at least you know someone. Like, who is controlling the torrent? So that's the word. There will always have to be someone in charge. Like, whenever we are talking about torrents, we are talking about like some websites, right? The Pirate Bay, the this site or that site. One site recently went poof, and all that other thing. So there's always something that has to be responsible for it. You cannot have responsibility with a decentralized system. Fundamentally, you cannot have that. So that creates an issue. And again, you have to, like, for example, take all the Linux distribution hassle that we have. We have Arch Linux, Debian Linux, Fedora Linux, all the man hour put into this. Like, take that man hour and imagine you had a time machine, you took all the man hour and you just like collapsed it into two distribution. One like simple, shut up and use, and pro edition. Linux would be like, bro, what happened to Microsoft? Microsoft will disappear. Apple will disappear. But no, everybody, and by the way, these are just few, there is 10,000 more, because every Tom, Dick and Harry thinks they can make it different without realizing that's the very reason why all of this is garbage. Like, I try to find applications where it's like, oh, I'm having this issue. The first answer is like, oh, I was using Mint. No. So Mint is garbage. Use Arch. I was using Arch. No. Arch is garbage. Use Ubuntu. This was garbage. Use that. Use this garbage. And don't even get into Linux mobile phones. Unless you have paid people who are working on it, which some people do for Arch Linux, but unless you have like a lot of paid people working, it's not gonna be good. So this creates an issue, and people are not that good. Whenever you remove all the constraint, like carrot and stick protocols, when we like Google gives you credit for certain thing doing is good. Like, you recommend some other friend to make Gmail account, it will used to give you a few megabytes extra and photo storage capacity. Or like, you rate something on Google Maps, make Google Map better, they will reward you, and they'll punish you if you do something wrong. So there is stick and carrot. You create a decentralized system fundamentally which has no carrot and stick. Yeah. You will learn very early on, it's like, why the heck communism always fails, and we are reaching the final stage of China's communism. So yeah, worst case scenario, we might actually cross the billion dead bodies mark. I do not want to live in that world, but we may be getting there sooner than we expected. 10 years, please, it should not happen earlier than 10 years. I mean, like, USSR lasted quite long. Venezuela, again, smaller places and all that. So what's the reality of it? Well, reality is very simple. We all like to work for money, right? I'm working on YouTube. Why? Because I'm getting paid. Not a lot. Let that be very clear. I'm not swimming in money, and my channel is not very well optimized, but I'm making some money. That's good. Now here's it. Do I want free stuff? Absolutely. I want free stuff. And this is not bad. This is not evil on me. This is all of us, all. Because it's a human nature. Get over it. We want to spend as little as possible, gain as much as possible. That's fundamental nature of humanity. And corporate world has realized how to extract that. Like, literally in feminism, they are like, hey, cigarette, freedom fire. Yes, they did it. And yes, women fall for it. Not even joking. Let's sacrifice our lungs because yeah. So they did that. So centralization, verticalization, that actually controls the quality. Like, if you are talking about Netflix, Netflix is just one centralized stuff. Like, in some scenarios, they could go to Amazon web servers and go to like, this hard drive has this episode. They can go that far deep. And nowadays there won't be hard drives, it will be SSDs, but you get the point. And they can go into another content delivery network and be like, hey, this is what is storing Indian shows, this is what's storing American shows. You get the point. But, so that allows you to quality control it. But if you distribute everything, it's the same thing like torrents. Like, sometimes you'll get speed 300 Mbps download speed, you'll like, yeah, orgasm. And sometimes it will like, yeah, 1 Mbps. Even though your pipeline is fixed, but there is no quality control. Your Netflix does not have to suffer with that. Of course, there will be sometimes some bad things will happen, but uptime would be much, much, much better. And that's the design aspect of centralization and vertical integration. And passion is not long-term stable. For example, when you are young, specifically from 20 to 30 phase, you will work on projects on your own and for free without any hassle. 30 to 40, you'll be like, hey, come on, compensate for me something. 40 to 50, I am not even waking up unless you are paying me. So that happens. Passion is fundamentally unsustainable, long-term wise. Short-term, good. Long-term, not that good. And our data is useless to us. So user data that is Google is creating by your work and all that, what the hell you gonna do that with? Like, yeah, I have my digital signature. Are you gonna sell it to someone? Because if you do, you are back to square one, and not to mention who will buy it from you. Google will look into it, study it, analyze it, break it down, and be like, hey, mobile phone, you have this group of people, advertise mobile phone to them, they're gonna buy it. Hey, insurance people, these are old people, they are suffering, searching for medical system, please look into them and advertise to them. Without that knowledge is useless. So our data is kind of useless to us. And then we cannot be paid to watch ads. Like, I've seen way too many people talking about like, oh, you could be paid for your data. It's like, nobody will pay you. For example, are there services in this world which pay you to watch ads? Absolutely. It's the same thing that is allows people to get paid to watch movies before they are released. There are people whose job it is. It's like, hey, what do you do? I am a cinema watcher. It's like, does that pay you money? Oh, absolutely. I get to call into services. I give them my feedback. My feedback is so important. If like 10, 20 people agree with me, like literally movies cut can be remixed. Yeah, but here's the deal. Studio, Fox studio, whatever, Disney studio, they're not gonna do that with everyone. They can only do with select few one, and there is a reason for it. But same goes with ads. If every ad viewer starts to get money, yeah, it's not gonna work. It can only work for a very small subsection of humanity, fundamentally. It's like the economic does not scale up. And if humanity does not understand that as a whole concept, it's like, oh, everybody can watch ads and everybody can make money. I'm like, what the heck we are teaching in schools? So it fundamentally has a minority scope. Can there be things? Yes, again, I am making money from ads. So, but the same thing is like, it's not scalable. It's like, not everybody can be an influencer. Not everybody can do everything. It's like, we have to have diversification for this reason. So what's the extract of it? Extract is Web3 is more buzz than actual fact. So it's more similar to the .com bubble, more similar to the crypto hulululu. So reality is, will there be some features that is implemented? Absolutely. I do expect certain things to change. I do expect certain feature sets to be incorporated. However, not the magic hulululu and everybody's love, everybody's free, all that hassle. That fundamentally goes against human nature. So I'm like, nah. Like, can many functions be added? Absolutely. Can many things be improved? Undeniably. Can everything will be like exactly how Web3 has been planned? Hell no. No. Just no. It's like, you do not have the capacity, like physically do not have hard drives, physically do not have supercomputers. So there are certain realistic limits. So I would urge you to, whenever you hear Web3, let 90% go through another year, 10% there may be some useful data. You can still learn it, develop it. You may find a unique use of it, but don't be expected it's like the next big thing. So this was my presentation on basically Web 3.0. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.